Leader Sinn Féin, Deputy MaryLou McDonald, please.
Taoiseach, 1 in 5 families across the state live in rented accommodation, and a quarter of all households here in Dublin rent. Renters are working singles and couples, some desperately trying to save for a deposit. They are separated and divorced people in some instances who have lost their family home. They are families recovering from mortgage distress. Renters are students forced to choose between sky-high rents and a crippling commute. They are modest income earners approaching retirement who never had a chance to buy their own home and who now look very nervously to the future. They are 300,000 households and 750,000 people. That's who renters are. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have been in government together now for 5 years, firstly in Confidence and Supply, and now in your coalition government. And during that time, the cost of renting has spiralled out of control. Average rents now stand at €1,352 statewide and €1,848 here in Dublin. Today, an average income worker renting in Dublin pays more than €22,000 a year in rent. That's more than half their take-home pay. And renters, of course, still have to put food on the table. They still have to provide for their children. They still have to face the massive gas and electricity bills. And as things stand, those who wish to get a deposit together really don't stand a chance of doing so. They are locked into what can only be described as a nightmare. It took a pandemic for government to introduce emergency protections for renters, but since you have been Taoiseach, all of these protections have been stripped away by your Housing Minister, Darragh O'Brien. And the result? Well, the result is that rents have started to spiral out of control yet again. And the long-promised supply of affordable cost rental accommodation has not materialised. However, your tax breaks for vulture funds continue. And this means that they can still gobble up apartments for which they charge extortionate rents to the tenants concerned. And now, to top it all, you announced a budget yesterday that did nothing for renters. I want to ask you, why is this? Not a single measure in Budget 2022 will alleviate the financial pressures faced by renters. No move to cut rents, no move to ban rent increases, no measures to improve standards or security of tenure. Leo Varadkar said that one person's rent is another person's income. Well, while this budget does nothing for struggling renters, it made damn sure that big landlords still get their income. Because the only private rental sector measure in your budget is an extension of a tax break for landlords. A Taoiseach, tá sé umlan scanalach nach raibh aon rud ann de císeoirí atá stracailt i do bhoséid. Tá císanna imithe ó smacht ar fad, agus tá na císeoirí críomhriста leis an costas marachtála atá ag ardú ach ní raibh dada ann dóibh. Taoiseach, why has your government refused to show up for renters, people who are facing extortionate rents? And when will you cut rents, ban rent increases and provide tenants, renters, with the security and the affordability that they so desperately need and they so rightly deserve?
Well, first of all, Deputy, I just need to correct disinformation to the House, and I think the truth matters. Fianna Fáil had been in government for 15 months. We have a Minister for Housing for the last 15 months. We have not been in government for 5 years. You should not continue to articulate a non-truth. And just because you keep on saying it doesn't mean it's true. And it's untrue. And you should stop saying it in the interest of proper honesty in public debate. But leave that to one side. You're also ignoring the fact that this budget does deal with many, many thousands of people who rent. But maybe the people on the housing, the HAP payment doesn't matter to you, or people on RAS, or people who get rent supplement don't matter to you. But these are real renters in real homes that the government directly supports. 65,000 tenants with HAP, 17,000 through RAS and 20,000 through the rent supplement, with about 600 million provided to support renters in those situations. The other key measure yesterday that will benefit renters is the tax relief, the indexation of income tax bands and credits. 1.8 million working families will benefit from that tax package that was announced yesterday. Now, you've opposed that, and your spokesperson yesterday said that Sinn Féin was against that tax relief. That's tax relief that will benefit renters. I've spoken to some renters, people in their mid-20s who are earning incomes in around 35,000, 40,000. If you're below 35, you will benefit also. They will get some relief from that tax relief. You not only ignore that, but you actually oppose it and think we shouldn't have indexed, which is giving a modest relief to people who are renting and who are paying tax in that regard, and also for remote workers, and there is further tax relief also. And then across the board within the budget, there's a variety of cost of living measures that will hopefully reduce costs in health, in childcare and other areas to assist people, and more, of course, needs to be done. But the most fundamental way to deal with the rental situation is to provide for supply of houses. And the Housing for All strategy does that in an unprecedented way in terms of the interventions that will be taken, and particularly through the cost rental model. And next year we'll see 1,500 homes coming on stream through the cost rental model. That's a scheme that the Minister has committed to, and that will grow and will be ramped up over time, which will see rents significantly below market level. The Minister has already introduced 5 rental acts to help deal with rent issues and to keep the pressure downwards in relation to rent. He did introduce legislation to tie it to the Consumer Price Index. Unfortunately, inflation has gone up in the last number of months, mainly through global issues in terms of the impact of COVID. But the Minister is committed in the next number of weeks to bring in a cap below the level of inflation to keep rents, to keep the pressure on rents downwards, and that they wouldn't go up at the same level as they would have previously. And this would be lower than obviously what was provided for in the rent pressure zones themselves. And the Minister has been very consistent and focused also in improving the capacity of the RTB in terms of penalising landlords who breach rent caps and identifying them. He's provided additional resources in the budget, about 11 million given to the RTB for 2022 to help it carry out this particular work. And so the measures we have taken in terms of making sure that we target those who want to rent houses at an affordable level or buy houses at an affordable level, that's where our resources are targeted. What you have suggested in your opposition budget, actually there is no guarantee that it would give the results that you think they would in terms of the tax relief and renters. And the Commission of Taxation has been very consistent on that in previous times in ruling that out as a viable option.
Deputy McDonald.
So, of course, the truth does matter, and the truth is this, Taoiseach, that not alone did you support Fine Gael government through confidence and supply, but you actually came into this House and bragged on more than one occasion that you had secured what you described at the time a housing budget. That was your claim, that was your brag at the time. So consistency also matters, and so does this. I've asked you questions that you know are directed towards those in the private rental sector. I don't doubt that you will ratchet up money into HAP and RAS commensurate with your failure to deliver social and affordable housing. I mean, that's a long established pattern. But I am asking you, on behalf of those who face rents of more than €1,300 a month, more than €1,800 a month, and whom you have left high and dry, I want an explanation for that. And I want to know when you will finally act as a government and do the right thing. Do the right thing, Taoiseach. And the right thing is to give relief to renters, as we have proposed to you, to put a month's rental income back in their pockets and to ban rent increases for 3 years. That's what we have proposed, and I want an explanation from you for those people as to why you have failed to show up for them again and failed to take these actions.
Thank you. Taoiseach.
Well, I've asked you, and I put it to you, that you've opposed tax relief for renters in the form of the indexation of tax bands and credits that the government introduced yesterday, and you're resolutely opposed to that. And that does give relief, and will give relief to those who are renting at the moment through their reductions in income tax as a result of those particular measures. And you oppose that, and you've opposed it, and you've articulated your opposition against that. And in relation to the HAP payments and so on, these are real people who are renting right now. Now, we want to provide social housing for people, and that is why the last 12 months has witnessed a transformation in terms of putting the state centre stage in terms of the provision of social housing and affordable housing. And the Housing for All strategy announced by government provides for unprecedented resources next year and the year after, to 11,000 social houses to be provided next year, and that ultimately will turn around the HAP experience and get less people on HAP and more people housed through social housing programmes. But equally, the state, through local authorities and through the Land Development Agency, will be providing affordable houses for young people in particular, and for renters who are currently renting, to be able to buy houses that they could afford.